Well, welcome to this, which will be the second to last edition of our shows that have been devoted to revealing insights never previously considered regarding the seventh and final Mow'ed Miqra, that of Sukah, which means shelters. It has been a remarkable voyage of discovery. We have learned so much about what this day represents that is really unheralded, that no one had previously considered, and that it brought us right back to Eden, to the garden. And to a show, I will tell you that Friday Family Hour program, where we pondered the implications of what we were told transpired in Eden, was one of the most profoundly revealing, enlightening, empowering, enriching times that we have had in the 24 years that we have been together. I should reveal here off to my, I guess this would be my left here now for on our screen, and to my left in person is Shannon. And Shannon, this will be Shannon's last chance to be with us. He has been here for the celebration of Sukah. What a perfect time to do this. He's the man that was so giving of himself and so committed to the family that at the first opportunity he had, he visited so many of us. He has traveled across the country a couple of times, from east to west, from north to south, and has met so many remarkable contributors in this covenant family.
Yes.
And to do so, particularly after the shakeup that was so vital to galvanizing who we are,
right.
And to finding the most extraordinary people, like as you said, the meeting with Kevin was exceptional. The meeting with Mariah, extraordinary.
Yes.
The meeting with Kirk,
yes,
with Dr. Jeff, with Bill and Jake O'Brien.
Yes.
That you met some people along the way, with JB.
Yes.
That were just exceptional. Where every moment of that time together was a celebration of what we have learned and are learning about Yahweh.
Yes.
And experiences you wouldn't exchange for anything.
No, I would not.
And here you are. You were able to come into Wookiee and Asher world with Leah and myself, and with Rich. And I think it's been a rich experience.
It really has.
Yeah. You've gotten to see how we live, which is pretty focused on a single thing.
Yes.
We wake up in the morning, we are all Yahweh all of the time until well after the sun sets at the end of the day.
Yeah. This is the real deal. This is, I kind of feel guilty a little bit. I'm vacationing, having fun, meeting everybody, and
which you should be doing. We're celebrating Sukah.
Yes, and it's I'm seeing everything real time by being here. Okay, on and off the camera, and it's totally focused on Yah, and I love that.
Yeah, we have a job to do, and
yes,
no matter what gets thrown in our path, the job requires removing obstacles. And to clearing the way for more people to recognize who Yahweh is, what he is offering, what he expects in return, and how he accomplished so much that is beneficial to us through his beloved son, Dode. And, I think that trip that you shared on your road trip through meeting so many interesting people was one of the most endearing. And then you were a full participant in the one that was among the most revealing. So it's been a wonderful time here with you. Asher is trying to make sure you stay. She's guarding the door, and Wookiee is in your lap. So it's concluding as it as it should. So we've been delighted, and now we're going to continue our story of Sukah and see what else we can learn about this glorious time with Yahweh. Because what we have found, and your stay here in our little island paradise, this garden that surrounds us, and it is a joyous garden that we live in the midst of, is a taste of where we are going. And that's really what Sukah represents. It really means nothing more, nothing less than Yahweh has a comprehensive plan to take us back to the place that all began, but without malcontents, no mother goddesses, no dimwits that aren't willing to think it through, no twisting of his testimony, no hiding oneself because somebody is uncomfortable being exposed to Yahweh. No blaming others for being led astray.
Right.
We're returning to a realm of no religion and no politics, and no conspiracy and no militarism, where it's just us and Yahweh. Not a lot of us either.
Right.
And we're re-entering the garden. Everything that we have been told from the story that transpired in the garden, all the way to our return to the garden, is one cohesive story about what Yahweh wants to achieve with us. And if you know what happened in the garden and know how to deal with that in terms of the circumstances we face today, then perhaps you're among the few who are prepared to enter that garden, exposed to Yahweh, comfortable being exposed to Yahweh. And that is really the message of this story. Are you like Adam and Chakmah, who had to hide, who had to cover themselves up? They didn't want to be seen. Just like the children of Israel during the beginning of the Exodus didn't feel comfortable being exposed to Yahweh. Told him to go away. Didn't want to hear his booming voice or see his brilliant light ever again. Right. So it's all being, do you recognize what Yahweh achieved through Dowd? Where we were made immortal by the fulfillment of Passover, as Dowd's body became the symbol of the Passover lamb. And that by being immortal, we don't have to fear death. And that he then took our guilt and carried it into Sheol on his nephesh soul, such that we don't have to be uncomfortable exposed to him. I mean, you can't get much more exposed to Yahweh than you have been here in our little island garden home, because it is all we do all of the time. And the more we're exposed to him, the more comfortable we get around him, the more we enjoy him. I had the opportunity, as I said, Shannon, to you just a moment ago, to have to actually drop it down from here to here for this show. Normally, I try to build it up so that I'm, properly enthusiastic sharing God's message, but I had to drop it down a lot because Rich and I spent the last 40 minutes or so reading and discussing 2 Samuel 6. And I want to tell you, it was written, every word of that was written now. Right now in our situation here. And oh my God, does Yahweh and Dowd have our back?
Yep.
And are some people in serious trouble?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you ought to be.
It is.
For the ones that are out there worried about their 401ks, you got more to worry about.
You got more to worry about than that. Yeah, it was, it is, it was, it will be extraordinary. It's one of the most extraordinary prophecies. You just read it and say, oh, yeah. It was all laid out there. And not a soul understood it until this moment. And the moment we're finished with our Sukah presentations tomorrow, we're going to start right into that, because it's riveting. It's so uplifting. It's so encouraging. It's so transformational and affirming that we know right who we are and what our role is in all of this. And Yahweh goes so far as to say that everyone associated with this, he's extolling, he's commending, he's uplifting, he's blessing. Because this role is so important at this time, and to his son, who's now, as you read this, he is fully engaged, completely supportive, totally understands exactly what we're achieving together and how we're going to make it so. And well, it's truly beautiful. So with that, let's finish our thoughts on Sukah.
Yep.
It says, by Sukah. Now, Sukah, what is Sukah? We've gone through this in previous shows, but as a reminder, if you want to know the meaning of a noun or a title in Hebrew, where do you go? Where do you go, Shannon? If I say that I want to understand what the word Sukah means, what is this most valuable thing I could go to?
The root word?
The root, not just a root, the verbal root.
The
Actionable root.
Okay.
Vivid, actionable things define words. Words are the way that we come to know and appreciate God.
Right.
And everything with God is actionable. You can't sit on your duff. You're either engaged in the process or you're nothing.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that is really interesting about this fellow that we're going to meet called Obed-Edom is Obed is based on the Hebrew word for abad, which means to work.
Okay.
And Edom is based upon the Hebrew word for Adam, the man. The man works. So actionable things, you want to be with God, work it. What did you first do when you heard me on Coast to Coast with the George Norrie?
I worked at learning.
You went to work, right? You went to work. You prioritized learning. You devoted the time to knowing, and then you did something that so few people can do. You went from knowing to understanding. And understanding is where the power is.
Yes.
So you want to understand what Sukah represents. The first thing that you should do is go to the verbal root. And there is one. It's Sukah. And you probably know now what Sukah means.
Covering.
Covering. Yeah. Yes. And so it's with covering, by protecting, by enclosing. And should you want to go from knowing, and that's how you know what Sukah means. There's something more valuable than knowing what Sukah means. It's understanding what connections we can learn from it. What does Sukah represent? We know what Sukah means now. It means to cover, to protect, to enclose, right? So is there a word out there that might be similar to that might be germane to this? And indeed, Gan-Eden. Gan means garden. It is the protected and enclosed garden. Because when we look up Gan, we find that it has a verbal root too. You know what that is? Ganan. What do you think the verbal root of Ganan means?
Covering?
Yeah, covering. You asked that, I was like, more of a question. Not just covering, protected and enclosed covering. So the word Garden of Eden is actually covering, protected covering, and sheltered environment. Eden. Gan Eden. And so the Sukah is the Gan. The Gan is the Sukah. And Eden means great joy. So we are being taken to the sheltered enclosure of great joy. Sukah is a return to Gan Eden. Now, that's rather profound, isn't it?
Yes,
So
it's
all these
beautiful.
people out there building huts, and they're going to be more exposed to the elements, they got it all wrong.
Right.
It's about celebrating life protected and sheltered by Yahweh and a place of great joy.
Yes.
Now, how's that for upgrading from your Sukah hut to living with Yahweh in a joyous place, protected and sheltered and covered by Him? Pretty cool.
It sounds pretty nice to me.
Pretty nice to me. Yep, I like it when Dad provides the housing, which is basically what he's saying. I'm going to provide the Sukah. So with HaSukah, the Sukah, you should live. With the Sukah, you can live. With the Sukah, you can inhabit and dwell. Yashab means you can inhabit, you can live, you can remain, you can dwell, you can hang out. And so within Sukah, within HaSukah, you should dwell, inhabit, live, and remain for 7 days. Why 7?
7's key number, isn't it?
7. What does 7 mean? It's based on the root, which means to promise, right? So it's I am promising that you can live and remain with Sukah. Yes. Pretty good. Yes. Pretty good deal. That's simple interpretation of it. 7, of course, is symbolic of the fact that there are 7 steps to God. Pesach, Matzah, and Bekurim, which Dode fulfilled, Shavuot, Teruah, and are the intermediate harvests. Teruah then setting up the events of Kippurim and Sukah. There's 7 of them. 7 lights on that menorah that's spinning over this shoulder and sitting on the shelf over that shoulder. I'm sitting between 2 menorahs. Pretty comfortable spot to be. All representing 7. So, with HaSukah, you can live for 7 days. Now, is God saying you're only going to live for 7 days? No. 7 days represents the 7,000 years that we get to be part of God's story. From Eden back to Eden, Gan to Gan. But it doesn't even end there, because God said there's an 8th day, which represents eternity. And eternity is a long time.
Yes.
And it says here then, all the native born within Yisrael. Native born within Yisrael would speak of Judaism, right? No. Native born within Yisrael, Ha-Ezra, those who rise up, come forth, and shine within Israel, which means those who engage and endure with God, speaks of an ethnicity. They would be the descendants of Jacob. And so the 7 sons of Jacob became known as Yisrael. And so the native born would be those who are ethnically, racially related to Jacob, who was the son of Yishak, laughter, who was the son of Abraham, merciful and loving father. There we are. So all of the native born within Israel should actually and consistently yashab, should remain, should live, should dwell, should abide in Sukah, with the Sukah. Now, is God saying that means that you should erect a tent that you're exposed to outside and dwell in a tent? No, that's not what Sukah means, does it? No. Sukah does not mean tent. Right. It does not mean hut. It does not mean canopy. God's got a perfectly good word for tent, OL. He didn't use it, did he?
No, he didn't.
Did he say that your Sukah should be an OL? No. And there's Chakmah too, where God says, I want you to establish a booth, like for a wedding or for some reason, for a celebratory occasion. He's got a word for that too, Chakmah. Okay. He didn't say, I want you to hang in Chakmah, which would be the booth. He didn't say that, did he?
No.
He said, what we're going to do here is we're going to celebrate this whole concept of Sukah. And we took the time to look up what Sukah means. This is the thing that I think is one of the great gifts of Yahowah. Yada means to know Yahweh. All the books that written are under the name Yada, to know Yahweh. This happens to be volume 1 of Coming Home, A Cold Voice. One of the gifts is that we present the Word of God intelligently, thoughtfully. I took the time to not only look at the oldest extant resources, typically the Dead Sea Scrolls, but also I was willing to scrub, oh, there, Wookiee. I was willing to scrub. This is a family show, and Wookiee is part of the family. I was willing to take the time to investigate the actionable roots of every word that we could find a verbal root. I was willing to scrub every word of the diacritical marking, something we talked about in the car the other day. Yes. What does it mean to scrub a word of its diacritical markings? Where did those markings come to be? And what can be learned when you ignore them?
You go back to the true source.
To what was actually written in the text. The diacritical markings were based upon the Babylonian version of the text, the Babylonian family of the text, as opposed to the Jerusalem family of the text. My guess is that, just from a proximity sort of thing, the Jerusalem family of text is probably better than the Babylonian.
I would think so.
Yes, think so. And the oldest Babylonian Masoretic text dates to the 11th century CE.
Right.
That would be the Codex Leningradius. That sounds like that's a long way from Israel to me, where these events took place. And the 11th century sounds like it's a long way from the time that these events took place. Big gap. But when we look at the Jerusalem family of texts, that would be in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And they go back to the 3rd century BCE.
Right.
That'd be 1,400 years, sometimes 1,500 years superior in terms of their antiquity. Right. And found within, the bird would fly, about 20 miles from where these events took place in Jerusalem. Still in Yehuda. So pretty obvious to me that we should look at the oldest text and not be much concerned about the diacritical markings that the Masoretes, which is really a derogatory term, and using their Shiva system, which is even a more derogatory term, means to deceive. Why would anybody view them as experts writing on that text as opposed and analyzing it from their jaundiced Talmudic perspective, when you can go right to the words that God wrote and strip them of that religiosity and then study them? And so you can look at every word that is written similarly.
Yes.
Oh, well, we have, look who's making her debut, second debut actually on the show. This is, oh, you're so cute. This is Kara. Kara is just a little bitty version of Wookiee, as you can see. But Kara will grow up to be almost as big as Wookiee, given the opportunity. Oh, you're so sweet. Yes. Okay. Kisses all around.
Okay, we interrupt this podcast.
So we interrupt this podcast with
Caroline, thank you very much.
with a celebration of
Thank you very much.
family here, and you might say, okay, those aren't really family; those are. We know that, but dogs are extraordinary examples of love, of genuinely adoring their people, being dependent upon their people, contributing to family, adding joy. Although Wookie is not quite so sure that Kara is a contributor. Yeah, he is a young boy, and as a teenage boy, he thinks that Kara might have cooties. But she'll grow up, and you'll change your tune, and you'll view her as marvelous. So I scrubbed all these words of the diacritical markings so that we could just look at every word that is written similarly in the Hebrew text to develop definitions that were consistent with the words themselves. And then the next thing I did is to look at how the words were written in the original alphabet, because the original alphabet would enable somebody who wasn't otherwise literate to understand the words, because those words were drawn with pictures of things that we can all relate to. And so that is how we went about this process. And so we know that the Sukah, therefore, is a covered and protective enclosure. Now, on this property, I've got a number of covered areas, right? Mm-hmm. This loggia here, this beautiful covered patio over here, the one that's outside of the Sky office where we broadcast it from the Ocean Studio. We have lots of them, don't we?
Yes.
How do they compare to the protection and the covering that we're provided inside of the house itself with its 8 to 12 inch thick cement walls?
Yes, it's not going to leak.
Yeah, so we're a lot. If there was a hurricane here, would you prefer to be out there in one of the exposed, sheltered, covered areas, or would you prefer to be inside of the?
I would like to be inside
the house. Okay.
Yeah,
and that's the intent.
Yeah,
a Sukah is the most enclosed and protected and covered environment that you have available to you, not the least. So it's important to understand these words. So all of the native born, Ha-Ezra, those who rise up, come forth and shine of Yisrael, should actually and consistently, continually dwell. They should live and remain in the Sukah, so that your future generation's door will know Yada, will come to know through Yada, that indeed I lived within a Sukah, within this covered and protected enclosure, a Sukah, with the children of Israel, when I myself brought them out of the land of the crucibles of political oppression. Oh, it's I camped out with you. I was one with you. I want you to live with me like that. I want you to trust me to be your protection. Because when he brought them out of Mitzrayim and the little Mitzrayimers were off chasing them, what did God do? He protected them.
Yes, he did.
When they found all sorts of people that were nipping at them and wanted to kill them, what did God do? He protected them. And so God is saying, I camped out with you then. Let's camp out. I want you to be reminded of that journey. Now, I shared with, I think it was Rich earlier today. There's a reason that rabbis have all their Talmudic books open and they read them like books and they're surrounded by their Talmudic books. Right. But that they take the Torah of Yahweh and they put it inside of this enclosure. Kind of looks like Trump's White House, all gold and silver, and they dress it up like a whore.
Right.
And they lock it all up, and that even if you wanted to read it, you have to unroll it like a scroll. You can't read it like a book. And there's a reason they do that. And they keep their Talmud open. Why? Because the rabbis and Judaism are spoken favorably in the Talmud. And what does it say about the children of Israel and the Torah?
Tells the truth.
It tells the truth.
Yeah.
That they were rebellious, that they were obstinate, they were ornery, they were impossible to be around. The reason they don't want to read that, the reason they don't want to be Torah observant, the reason they called their Talmud a Torah is so they could pretend they were Torah observant and look at their Talmud that said, hey, you're just wonderful. And we're going to make a Hashem in our image, and it's all good. Love the rabbis. And yet in the Torah says, you're religious, man. You got nothing to do with me. You think you're going to speak for me when I didn't appoint you to speak for me? You're covered in leprosy. I've got a plan. We're going to carry out my plan my way, and it's because you've been obnoxious. And I'm going to work through people because you've been obnoxious. But anyway, what this says is Sukah, 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 Sukah. It only mentions Sukah. It does not mention that we're going to be living in tents. It doesn't say we're going to be living in a chuppah. It says in a sheltered enclosure.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
That is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And that is what it says. I am Yahweh, your God. So according to Yahweh, the reason we Sukah is to remember that he Sukkah'd with us long ago. God camped out with his people so that we could camp out with him. Yahweh Yatzah, he liberated his children from Mitzrayim, religious and political oppression, and he's going to repeat that process come to Ruwach in year 6,000 Yah.
Mm-hmm.
That is the story. So then Moshe declared the word regarding Yahweh's eternal witness to the appointments, Mow'ed, to the children of Yisrael. We are in the concluding time of Sukah. And as we conclude the celebration of Sukah, and it will go in for us into tomorrow, we will acknowledge that Sukah is Yahweh's teaching, that he communicated this to Moshe and did so tangibly as well as with words, so that we could learn from it, so we could participate in it. And that Sukah represents something that is derived from the word of Yahweh. But also, Sukah is a Mow'ed. Mm-hmm. It's an eternal witness to the appointments. It is all about the restoring witness. So it is the restoring witness presentation of the eternal testimony regarding these appointments with our God. And it was communicated to the children of Israel, to the offspring of those who engage and endure with God. This is from Korah, called out, should never have been called, Leviticus 23:44. God's Torah presentation of the seventh and final Mow'ed, therefore, began, and I will just walk us through what we have considered up to this point. Let's let Yahweh describe what he wants us to enjoy as we Sukah with him in this elegant Gan surrounded by the sea. Yahweh spoke to Moshe to say, Korah 23:33, converse with the children of Yisrael to say, on the 15th day of the 7th month is the festival feast, the Chag of shelters of Sukah. For 7 days to be near Yahweh. What's the purpose?
To be near Yahweh.
To be near Yahweh. Pretty straightforward. That is the purpose. And it is a chag, which means it is a
Shabbaton.
Feast.
no, a chag. It's a party.
It's a party.
It's a celebration.
Party, feast.
He wants us to celebrate on the 15th day of the 7th month a festival feast, a party, a celebration to be with him where we are sheltered by him. And we do it for 7 days in remembrance of the 7,000 years we'll live together on this rock, as well as the 7 Mow'ed Miqra that allow us to be near Yahweh. And the purpose, to be near Yahweh. During the first and foremost day, there is a set apart invitation to be called out and meet, a welcoming summons to read and announce the name, as well as to proclaim the purpose of the relationship. Set apart means uncommon. What's the most common thing in our world? Man's
Religion
word.
and politics.
There we go.
Yeah.
So that means that the first and foremost day must be divorced of religion and politics. So if you're celebrating Sukah from a religious perspective, you got it all wrong,
Right.
inverted and backwards. It is an invitation not to be called into something like religion or politics or a synagogue. It is an invitation to be called out.
Yep.
It's a Miqra, to meet. It's a welcoming summons to read and to recite. I've got something that you may want to consider. Reading and reciting. How about these books? Yada Yahweh. Anything associated with the Malaka, this messenger and spiritual counselor, the one that has been sent by heaven to speak to you. The duties of the Malaka and the energy and effort that is being contributed by the Malaka, you should not engage in or try to profit from.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do the Malaka's job. God has afforded his 7 Ruwach to the Choder to do this job. It is the most fulfilling, satisfying job ever. And yet, it is also the most annoying and difficult job ever. When you have the 2 greatest men who ever lived, Moshe and Dode, couldn't get it done. And so that's why Yah was all in with the Malaka, with his 7 Ruwach, because we're running out of time, and Israel hasn't listened over the chasm of time,
Right.
and now time is running out. So there is a Malaka, there is a person that God has designated to get this done, and that individual loves this job. Satisfied with all of the opportunity and insights that have come through his 7 spirits and through his word. Don't get in the Malaka's way.
Right.
Don't try to personally profit from it, other than to benefit from what is being revealed. For 7 days, you should consistently approach and come near this feminine manifestation of the fiery light that purifies, enlightens, and elevates unto Yahweh. This is something we have celebrated more in the last week than at any time ever. I have long shared that I understood why Yahweh uses the metaphor for a fire. I think I'm the first person ever to say he uses fire as a metaphor because it transforms organic material like a body, wood, but a physical, organic, decaying body, wood, for example, and it converts it into light and energy. And as light and energy, it is vastly more energetic, vastly more powerful, vastly more capable, and brilliant and enlightening and enabling. And so this is what God is trying to do for us. He says these physical bodies that are the receptacle right now for your soul I will transform them just like the fire transforms the wood into light and energy. And then with your soul enveloped in light and energy, you are going to be hugely empowered. E equals MC squared. You're going to be enabled. You're going to be immortal. You're going to be perfect. You're going to be capable of seeing the entire universe because you're inheriting it. This is the first time ever in all of human history that lesson has not only been told, but told in context of Yahweh throughout the Mow'ed Miqra, inviting us to come into the presence of and to approach this fiery light so that we can be transformed and enter his presence in the seventh dimension.
Which is why people are out there uprooting trees. They don't want that message out.
They do not want that message out. That is precisely why they're attacking both the tree of the knowledge of good and bad and the tree of lives. This is the message that they do not want because they have already written themselves out of this story. And now misery loves company. So during the 8th day, symbolizing eternity, there exists for you to approach a set apart invitation to be called out and meet. Another one of those things that's Kodesh, another thing that cannot be religious. If so many people get all mucked up because they cling to religious notions. And you gotta release that if you're going to spend time with Yahweh. And if you can't release it, goodbye. You're not welcome. You cannot enter eternity. You can't re-enter the garden. I think you had a fellow that said, if you eat that, then you can't be covenant. No, stop it with the religion. Somebody else said, well, you got to wear this thing over here. This isn't. No, that's not what God is saying to us. You've got to stop that which is common, therefore religious and political and conspiratorial, and be set apart unto him if you want to be part of this. So during the 8th day, to celebrate eternity, there exists for you to approach a set apart, a Kodesh invitation to be called out and meet. Called out, wouldn't that be brought away from the corruption of man and to the family of God? You should come at that time. You should present yourself and you should appear before what? The Ishe, this feminine representation of the fiery light that enlightens and elevates and empowers unto Yahweh. This is a transformative time to recognize that we're being transformed from mortal beings with all of those flaws and limitations to eternal beings where our soul resides within light and energy. So that we're infinitely enriched and empowered and enabled by God. It is a time to show some discipline and some restraint. Meeting together such that you do not attempt to accomplish or profit monetarily from anything associated with the Malaka, this spiritual messenger, one who speaks based upon having the Ruwach, and don't do the Malaka's duties or responsibilities. You don't want to do that anyway. This is, it's a joyous job with tremendous satisfaction and joy in terms of the enlightenment and the learning. And, we have a wonderful situation. But the moment that Yahweh said, we're not going to be anonymous anymore. You're going to go out and you're going to be exposed because I've got a bunch of descriptive titles that pertain to this mission. You become a target. And, when they're shooting live ammunition, being a target's not a lot of fun. And ultimately, you get bludgeoned to death. And, that's probably not a lot of fun. And between now and the time that you complete this mission, you'll be respected by Yahweh and Dode and some covenant members for what you're doing. For the most part, the world's going to hate you, just as they have hated Yahweh, just as they hate Dode, just as the children of Israel hated Moshe. So you just don't want to get involved doing what he's supposed to do. It was really clear in 2 Samuel 6 when talking about how Yahweh was commending and extolling the work of Obed-Edom, that he's also commending and extolling all who work with and are associated with Obed-Edom. So there is lots of credit to be shared. We just don't step on each other's toes. We do what we're individually called to do. So these godly and specific restoring witness to the eternal appointments of Yahweh, the Mow'ed, which to offer the benefits of the relationship, Asher, you are intended, or you are invited to attend and to proclaim them. Kara, the basis of Miqra, right? And it's already up there as Mow'ed, which is means to ponder the implications of the restoring witness. So these godly and specific eternal testimony regarding the restoring witness of Yahweh, which to offer the benefits of the relationship, you are invited to attend, to proclaim them as, there's that word again, set apart and special, Kodesh. Miqra, in case you were wondering how Miqra is to be defined, what is the verbal root of Miqra? That's the singular of it is Miqra. Kara. And what did Kara's already here? You're invited to attend. You are summoned to meet. You are encouraged to read and recite. Miqra, plural of Miqra, of these invitations to be called out and meet for the purpose of, what's the purpose? To approach this feminine representation of the fiery light to enlighten and elevate unto Yahweh, so that you are transformed from little tiny, insignificant, decaying physical beings with your soul trapped in a body to being liberated as energy and light, therefore being able to travel throughout the universe, being able to approach Yahweh in the seventh dimension, being comfortable in Yahweh's presence, being completely exposed and still brilliant,
Right.
empowered, enriched, enabled unto Yahweh to rise, to ascend, to be withdrawn, to be lifted up, to be carried away. What a beautiful presentation of the purpose of this Miqra. We are transformed by that fire so that we can ascend, so that we can be withdrawn, so we can be lifted up, we can be carried away, including by way of this gift of the sacrifice and a pouring out of the word day by day. For Sukah, there is a sacrifice, just as there was a sacrifice for Chakmah. There is a sacrifice for Sukah. And it was the the ram, who made the sacrifice on Pesach for us to be part of the covenant family. And it is the bakar, the bull, who makes the sacrifice now to enable this reunion and this pouring out of the word of Yahweh day by day.
Right.
In addition to the Shabbats, these times of promise to celebrate the relationship with Yahweh, and as part of your involvement in that relationship, even beyond, all of your vows and promises to participate, because of everything you have freely decided upon, you should contribute to benefit the relationship with Yahweh. God's saying, don't be a deadbeat. Don't be, I'm in the covenant now. I can do whatever I want. I can go off and spew vomit all over it. I'm in the covenant, man. I'm there. Nothing doesn't apply to me. It's not gonna. No, I don't have to do it. Hell, you don't. Excuse me. You want to be in this covenant family? You engage. Look at Rich. I mean, you can't be a better example of that than Rich.
That's right.
You can't be a much better example of that than Leah. Yep. And she's devoted to this 10, 12 hours a day. You can't be a better example of that than Shannon. You went to visit everybody. offering your heart, studying this so that you could be the example that your son needed so that your son came to know Yahweh.
Right.
And then became the one who visited everyone in the covenant family so that their lives would be connected and enriched. We do this because Yahweh asked us to Obed Edom. We need to be men and women who work.
Yes.
The story is consistent all the way through.
Yeah.
Connect the dots, right?
The dots are getting closer.
They are getting closer together all the time,
Yeah.
easier and easier to understand. Without exception, on the 15th day of the 7th month, this is a promised time of renewal, transformation. When you have gathered in that which is valuable to you from the material realm, and you should celebrate and revel in the festival feast of Yahweh for 7 days. Of course, what's the harvest? Teruah. And after the Teruah harvest, and we should be celebrating. We should be engaged in this time of renewal. That which was valuable to Yahweh has not only been gleaned during Teruah, but Yahweh brought everybody who had the potential to enjoy this 1,000-year Sukah on earth into Jerusalem to benefit from the sacrifice of the Anima Parah. And so everyone that's potentially valuable is all here now. Mm-hmm. We're all here ready to celebrate and revel in what God has been trying to do all along, which is after he had Chakmah and Adam mess it completely up by wanting to be mother goddess and father god, I guess. Certainly the mother goddess, it's explicit with Chakmah, and twisting Yahweh's testimony to mess everything up. We are now being invited back at long last. That is what we should be celebrating. And with the first and foremost day, there is to be a Shabbaton, to remember everything associated with the promise and purpose of the Shabbat. And on the 8th, representing eternity, a Shabbaton, 2 Shabbatons. Let's celebrate this, our relationship with God, based upon the promise that he has made to us, based on the formula of 7. Then on your behalf, you should accept and grasp hold of, during the first and foremost day, the fruit of the tree of lives. The fruit of the tree of lives, with respect shown towards the glorious and honored open hand, to be erect along with the branch, promoting growth. And this is not the Shemach branch. Now the tree of lives, you're being given access to it because of the much smaller branch being extended from the tree of knowledge that promotes your growth, that provides the means for you to appreciate this shelter that is being offered to you, this interwoven canopy of truth. All is a pledge to exchange the dried up and the lifeless, that wood that we burn for the fire, for an inheritance being transformed by its light and energy, while serving as an affirmation to be kept safe and secure, sheltered, protected, and covered during this transition from being in a desolate place to literally possessing the source of life. So then, you can delight in this. You can express your elation, approaching the presence of Yahweh, your God, for 7 days during this time of promise. What could be greater? You told those who were saying, why are you leaving? Because I get to spend time in the very presence of the creator of the universe, Yahweh. Mm-hmm. And I get to do something that makes an enduring contribution to his family. And at the end of all of that, I get to have Yahweh put his arm around my shoulder and say, hey, Rich, Shannon, you did good. I'm proud and pleased with what you achieved. And life forevermore is going to be richer because of what you did. What better use of our lives?
I know. People just don't understand what Yahweh's offering.
Oh, and it's so magnificent. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
You should celebrate it, he says. Revel in it. It's a festival. It's a feast. It's a celebration and association with Yahweh, who just happens to be God and who happens to be a really cool dude, man.
Yes.
He's bright. He's fun. He's sarcastic. He's enjoyable to be around. He is credit giving, not credit taking.
Yeah.
For 7 days during the year, it is a clearly communicated and engraved prescription of what you should do to live a Chukah eternally. Throughout all of your generations, you should actually and consistently celebrate it in the 7th month. I mean, how many times did he say party? Party, party, party. Celebrate, enjoy, festival, feast.
Yeah.
I want to have fun. No curmudgeons. God, if you're going to say, "No, liar, liar, I don't like you anymore," well, go away. We're here to celebrate our relationship with God. Within the Sukah, you should live. Within the whole concept of being covered and protected by God, you should live for these 7 days. Enjoy this time of promise. All of the native born who rise up and come forth and shine within Yisrael, among individuals who engage and endure with God, should actually and consistently dwell and remain with the shelter, with the Sukah, covered, protected, enclosed by Yahweh. Enclosed by, meaning enveloped in something that is protecting, so that your future generations, your family and descendants within those encampments will know and understand Yada. They'll benefit from what Yada is sharing, so that indeed you will know that I lived, I remained, I existed within HaSukah, a shelter, with the children of Yisrael, when I myself brought them out from the land of the crucibles of religious and political oppression. I am Yahweh, your God. So then Moshe, the one who draws out, declared the word regarding Yahweh's Mow'ed, the restoring witness to the eternal testimony, to the children of Yisrael, so that they might engage and endure with God. All out of Korah, called out, should never have been called Leviticus in the 23rd chapter. And there is the invitation of lifetimes. I thank you for listening. We look forward to being with you yet again in the late afternoon today. May you enjoy your ongoing celebration of Sukah.